Peter Hardy and Michael Ford are coming. Ellen Wilkinson, the red flag, she is humming. We get around not as much as Dominic Cummings, even though he's driving blind. We are the Labour grassroots, where like-minded folk dwell. From countryside to city, it's warm and it's witty, the antidote to Pretty Patel. We are the Labour grassroots, time to raise a racket. The future is as bright as Crispin's red jacket. This is the space where we all go hell for leather, free from all the biased BBC blether. Like track and trace, we're better together, just as Carrie and Ned. Yeah, we got all the people from Inverness, Skegness, Barrow and Furness, Chester, Leicester, Cirencester, Shrewsbury, Oswald Street, Swansea, Fernackley, Barnsley, Beccles, Nottingham and Eccles. We are the Labour grassroots, time to plant some grass, where we've always had social distancing between us and the upper class.
I want to pay tribute to Jeremy Corbyn, who led our party through some really difficult times, who energised our movement, and who's a friend as well as a colleague. And to all of our members, supporters and affiliates, I say this: whether you voted for me or not, I will represent you, I will listen to you, and I will bring our party together. But we've just lost 4 elections in a row. We're failing in our historic purpose. Be in no doubt, I understand the scale of the task, the gravity of the position that we're in. We've got a mountain to climb, but we will climb it. And I will do my utmost to reconnect us across the country, to re-engage with our communities and voters, to establish a coalition across our towns and our cities and our regions, with all creeds and communities, to speak for the whole of the country. Where that requires change, we will change. Where that requires us to rethink, we will rethink. Our mission has to be to restore trust in our party as a force for good and a force for change.
Keir Starmer, 6 months on. We've got a really busy discussion tonight. We want to hear from everyone across the country, all different opinions. We've got 20 people who've been contacted to speak tonight. There's also, obviously, you can chat there. There's a lot of activity going on in the chat box already. So to start the show, I thought we'd speak to somebody who actually knows Keir Starmer and has been in the same profession as him. Mark MacDonald, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can and can see you. So, Mark, we're only giving people 2 minutes to speak, so this is difficult for a lawyer. What would you say of Keir Starmer's record in the first 6 months?
I think I'm not yet able to give a firm opinion as to what it is offering the membership. I can see, in essence, what he's doing and his plan in relation to how the tactics he's taking with the country, but I think he's leaving the membership behind, particularly those who worked so hard under Jeremy Corbyn. But you asked that question, but I think what I'd rather do is come in and just talk about Keir as the man that I know, and the history behind him and how he came to be the leader of the Labour Party. And many people here will know of him very quickly becoming an MP and becoming leader. I've known him for many years. He was head of Doughty Street Chambers. Doughty Street Chambers is probably the leading left-wing chambers in the whole of the country. Inside that chambers, you've got Helena Kennedy, Geoffrey Robertson, Edward Fitzgerald, you may have heard of, Clooney, Emil Clooney, she's a member of that chambers. It's one of the strongest, and I say most successful human rights chambers in the country, if not the world. Indeed, Keir Starmer, when he was a junior barrister 23 years ago, wrote the book that every single barrister in this country had to learn human rights from. Indeed, when the European Convention was adopted into our domestic law by Tony Blair, if you remember, the Human Rights Act, he was the barrister who went out and trained all 10,000 criminal barristers on human rights. He wrote this book. That's his book. We all had to buy it. That was 23 years ago he wrote this book. He has dedicated himself to human rights. He's my MP here in Camden. I was at his selection meeting when he became a PPC. I was at his vote when he became an MP. I worked with him on the death penalty, on international issues. He is an incredibly bright man. He's a passionate man, a compassionate man. And so now I see him. He's leader of the Labour Party. He comes to my constituency, where I've been for 2.5 years working as a PPC, didn't win the election. He came as the leader, and he came with Ruth Smeeve and Gareth Snell, who were both the other candidates in the city, came 10 minutes from my house to a local factory, and I wasn't told, wasn't mentioned anything about it, and was completely excluded from the whole visit. And it's clear that I think that his approach right now is one where he's not engaging with the members, and he's not engaging with the membership. And I fear that those who have been very close to Jeremy Corbyn and very supportive of Jeremy Corbyn, like myself and other PPCs throughout the country I've spoken to, have seen this, have been excluded to his new way of method of running the Labour Party. And it worries me because, as I say, I considered him a friend. I consider him a friend. Right. I think he's an incredibly bright man. And I'm still, as I say, I'm hoping he's going to improve. Let's put it that way.
Okay, well, thank you, Mark, for going over the 2 minutes. We'll get back to you later, maybe, to after we've heard from other people, to see what you think about what they've said. I'd quite like a sum up from you, as you are in the legal profession. You may be able to do it for a bit less time. Okay. Now, I'm going to move to Ipswich, where Elizabeth Hughes is speaking to us. Are you there, Elizabeth?
I am indeed. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Crispin. I'll follow that on with a different view. It's difficult to know how to voice sometimes how you're feeling in your gut about how our party's doing. And I thought, well, for tonight, this is important. This is a grassroots review of a performance of our leader. And I looked back in the old rule book, 2020, and clause 1 says that we must promote the election of Labour Party representatives at all levels of the democratic process. And clause 4, in aims and values, number 5, on the basis of these principles, Labour seeks the trust of the people and this to govern. And this is, for me, one of these two things are two of the key things. No matter what the personalities, no matter what our personal views, we find the common ground, we move forward, we get elected, and we're therefore the ordinary people of this country. And Keir Starmer, I think, has got good credentials for me. He's got a humble background. He's been extremely successful through his own brains and his own merit. And I really admire that in him. There's more to admire in him and his success than there are in the opposition, for sure. I mean, you don't even need to say that to fellow comrades here. And I do think that it's important now that we get Labour back into power. And I'm not going to say at any cost, because that's what people who decry Keir Starmer say. But as a local politician here, and hearing what was said on the doorsteps the last 2 elections, 2017 wasn't too bad, but 2019 was a disaster with Jeremy Corbyn as the leader in areas where we lost what little ground we had. We lost one of our only East Anglian MPs to a 5,000 majority to an extreme right-wing Tory Brexiteer. So I really want to see, I think Keir Starmer's done well. He's held up well in the chamber, that's fine. But I think, to echo what Mark said, I would like to see him out more. But on a similar note, Jeremy Corbyn kept away from us in Ipswich when we really needed support last year. So it is yin and yang. I don't think you can expect the leaders to be everywhere. My final point is, I think he's got the credentials. I like what I've seen at Prime Minister's Question Time. I want to see what he's going to do in the next 6 months for all of us now, as we're ramping up for big May elections. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm moving to Eton near Windsor to speak to Patrick. Are you there, Patrick?
I am. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
I can, yeah. Now, as I was saying, we have to keep these short, but
Okay.
what would you like to say about Keir Starmer's record in the first 6 months of his leadership?
Right. I'm on Twitter a lot. You'd swear on Twitter that the entire membership was resigning en masse, if you were to believe Twitter. Yeah, I've just done a bit of research tonight and actually found that the membership has actually increased. We are more than making up for the people who are resigning. It's been the classic Labour story. The membership is not of the same ilk as the campaigners out there. The campaigners are far more left than the membership. So basically, we've got a situation here where people are saying, I'm going to resign over this horrific vote in Parliament where we whipped to abstain on a fundamental value of human rights. And I'm saying, hold on a minute. I'm an Irishman, a Catholic from the north of Ireland, who knows all about this stuff. If you've seen Unquiet Graves, how the British state colluded in the murder of innocent civilians in Northern Ireland. But you know what? Nothing, no one has been held to account for the murders. No soldier, no state actor has been brought to justice for any of that stuff. As if actually last night's vote is suddenly going to be the breaking point for whether I support Labour or not. My heart is with Jeremy Corbyn. I went out in the streets. I voted for him in the election. I was on the streets campaigning for him, but he was never going to win. This man, Keir Starmer, is statesmanlike. He is winning the support of people whom I thought would never vote Labour. I've spoken to two women recently, one 50-something, another 60-something, who have voted Tory consistently from 2010, who now say they would vote for Keir Starmer tomorrow. That's my 2 minutes, I think.
Well, thank you for keeping to your 2 minutes, Patrick. And I'm going to move to Asker, who's in Allen and Deeside. Allen and Deeside. Are you there?
That's right, Allen and Deeside. One of the first CLP nominated Jeremy Corbyn. Then I was the chair of the CLP. So we've got a very good credentials in track record in Allen and Deeside. Well, what I say is Keir, I've met Keir a few times. Very smart man, very clever man. And Allen and Deeside, we supported him. And he knows very well that without left support, he wouldn't be able to get such a big, convincing majority. So left have supported him, and democratically he's been elected, and we have to respect him being our leader because he's been elected with convincing majority. That's absolutely key for us. But what we have from Jeremy Corbyn, party has changed. We have over 500,000 members. Majority of them are left. So we can use that platform to change the party further. We can populate, by using that, our parliament with the real socialists. We can populate our NEC with real socialists. Recently, when we got together with grassroots, in Welsh grassroots, we managed to support, at least in my constituency, all the 9 left NEC, including yourself, be nominated. We work together, make sure for the list for election, for our Welsh election, parliament election next year, there will be plenty of candidates there. We chose 4 candidates, all left. We managed to get all 4 in because all the grassroots members work together. What I am saying here, if we work together, we are the party, we are the grassroots, we are the roots of the party. We can change the party. The party is not based on one person, one name. We should be basically moving forward, be optimistic, and encourage more left to join the party rather than discouraging those who are leaving the party. When you leave the party as left, you are allowing the right to move forward and occupy your seat. That is what happened during the Blair time. Blair was such an dominant person because the membership was right.
No, I don't want. I know I let Mark go over a bit, but I think we might be in danger of moving right over. So you're saying effectively that the left, it's Keir Starmer can represent the left of the party.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. And I'm going to move to. Thank you very much, Asker. And I'm going to move to Mark in Workington. Mark,
how are you doing?
Now, what's your view? Do you think that Keir Starmer can represent the left of the party?
Well, it's the issue that's sort of sitting there that everybody can see, but everybody's frightened to talk about. I think, for me, and it was really interesting what the start, because I was thinking about what's he got to do, and that's bringing us back together. Because at the end of the day, we are friends and colleagues. You wouldn't think that, mind, by some of the chat. And I haven't seen any signs of that. I've seen ejections. Everybody's got their issues. Everybody's got their causes. But politics is completely polarised. It's polarised internationally. The divisions are so wide apart. And they're here within the party as well. The divisions are particularly raw. And the one thing that I am still raw with is the leak report. Sort out the leak report. I think you'll pull the left back in. Because that's the one thing that causes some real angst. I think he's doing well on the dispatch box. Some people won't like that, but I walk down my town and people are coming up to me and saying, he's doing well, Mark, he's doing well, he's doing well. And I have to say, yeah, he's doing good, he's doing good. I didn't vote for him. I just spoke to Sue there before. Sue voted for him, but she'd voted for Jeremy before. You know, so I thought Patrick McGlean, absolutely. I think I'm there with you, Patrick. And Askar made a really pertinent point, and I've been thinking about that all along. When Keir came along and he was voted in, the membership hadn't changed. So he got on board with the whole of the party, the left and right wings, and he's got to return that faith and bring the party back together so that we can get behind and start to work hard and get this lot out. That's the end of the day. I keep saying he's not our enemy. Now then, shoot me down in the chat, but that's where I am.
Well, I want to just sort of quickly bring in the findings of the survey that I put out. It was answered by 1,500 members. Most of them, the people who are on my mailing list, are Corbyn supporters. So it wouldn't be that there were that many supporting Starmer. However, there were roughly a quarter to a third of them were supporting Starmer.
Yeah.
And this is what the findings were from those people who supported Keir Starmer in the leadership election. Their idea of how well he's doing was pretty positive. Only under 10% of those people who voted for Keir Starmer in the survey didn't think he was adequate or good since that time. So if you look at that, he's still popular with the people who voted for him. However, if I move on to those people who did not vote for Keir Starmer, we see a totally different picture. We see that only 24% of people actually thought he did an adequate or good job, and 70% or more thought he wasn't doing a good job. So it seems to me from the findings of the survey that actually we're pretty divided between those who like Keir Starmer and those who don't like Keir Starmer. So it's quite an interesting division. And I'm going to bring in Vary from Southport. Are you there?
I am.
What do you think about that? Do you think that that there's a big division in the party between those who like Keir Starmer and those who don't like Keir Starmer?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm chair of Southport CLP. I didn't vote for him. I voted for Becky. Our CLP in 2015, when Jeremy was elected, went up from 222 people to over 1,000 in the space of 3 months. So our membership is left. But getting back to Keir Starmer, I mean, I think that he's doing an adequate job. I think he's got a very difficult time at the moment because the world has gone mad. We're in the middle of a pandemic and everybody's fighting with everybody else. But I also remember when Jeremy was elected, all us sort of socialists were whinging about the right wing of the party and how they weren't supporting him, how they went through the coup and all the rest of it. And we've got to be better than that. We've got to be supportive of this man. He was elected by the members. So you can't have one rule on one side and another rule on the other side when it's us that are sort of thing. But first and foremost, you know, I'm Labour and I want a Labour government. And if we have to have a Labour government with Keir Starmer, it'll still be 100 times better than what we've got at the moment. And that's the important thing because Labour governments change people's lives for the better. And that's what I want. And I think that's probably my 2 minutes.
Well, thank you very much for that. And I'm moving on to Maria in Carmarthenshire.
Hiya, well, good evening from Wales. I've been a member of the Labour movement for a very, very long time and I'm getting on now. And I'm probably one of those people who are thinking, is it time to call it a day? And for me, it's never been about the personal or the person. It's always been about reaction and behaviour and policy. And behaviour is a big issue for me because I have seen for the past 5 years, I have tolerated, as we've all tolerated, some totally unacceptable behaviour from members, unacceptable behaviour from elected people on the PLP, and unacceptable behaviour from the media. And unfortunately, I just can't behave like that. And another thing is that, like many, many members, I'm still grieving from December 19 in what was, and I too was a PPC, it was a Brexit election where we got hammered on the doorstep, not on policy, but on Brexit. And the number of people that spoke to me and said, yeah, I'm going to vote Brexit Party, I'm going to vote Tory Party because I want it over and done with. But once that's done, I'm coming back to Labour. Since Keir Starmer has been elected, I have not seen a hand being held out like it was promised. That grieving process has not been acknowledged. The loss of those new members, how they feel, how they reacted, it's almost as if it didn't happen, but it did happen. And unless and until that pain, the dismay at the purges, the 5 years that we kept our gobs shut rather than cause disunity in the party, of cuddling up, kutching as we call it in Wales, until that is addressed, until it is resolved, this party cannot move on. And those stats that you're seeing are showing exactly that. It has become very, very personal and about the person. My other concern recently is about women in the party. And yesterday, seeing what seemed to me as Angela Rayner undermined for saying that Matt Hancock should go, etc., and being told afterwards by Keir on the radio, on TV, oh, well, it was just a reaction that's going on nationally. Well, actually, it's not. Because my view of Johnson and Hancock is as follows. If you can't organise a swab test in a car park when you've got 1.5 million NHS employees, 200,000 military personnel based in this country without going to the private sector and then messing it up, then really it's not a competent Prime Minister. And yes, we should be way up there, and we should be up there because we've got a decent manifesto that the Conservative Party is now implementing. I know I've gone over time, but one other point. I'm a member of Unite, and I think that what Unite did yesterday was absolutely the right thing to do. They exist for workers. The Labour Party exists for workers, and you cannot abstain from policies that are going to decimate trade unions and workers in this country. So I'm open to persuasion, but I'm not there yet.
Okay, well, don't everyone just remember that there's other people coming in, and they may well say what you want to say anyway, and no one wants to repeat anyone else. So I'm going to bring Mike Phipps in, who's in London. Mike?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah. So
excellent.
What's
so
your view?
I think it's a mixed picture. And I think if you look at the piece that Andrew Fisher, who was the senior policy advisor to Jeremy Corbyn and wrote the manifestos, put up on Open Democracy a couple of weeks ago, he said there's 3 reasons why people supported Starmer in the numbers they did. One is the 10 pledges, which were good. One is he was offering party unity. And the third is that he looked competent. And that, I think, is why so many former Corbyn supporters nominated him and backed him for the leadership, including, in terms of nominations, Jeremy's own constituency in Islington North. And the party has, as far as I can see, remained so far on an anti-austerity message, opposed to the benefit cap and so on and so forth. But there are some flies in the ointment, if you like. And I think looking at his conference speech, the big thing that was missing for me was there was not one word of acknowledgement of the battle that his predecessor had to put up with in relation to the whole forces of reaction that were waged against Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party in 2019. And I think that was a bit mean-minded because, frankly, unless Keir Starmer himself does a deal with Murdoch, the same forces are going to be unleashed by the press against him as they were unleashed against Jeremy and Ed Miliband as well. And I think as well, we should be a little bit worried about these 2 things on which Labour has abstained in the last couple of weeks. The Overseas Operations Bill, which seeks to limit the time limit for allegations that can be made about UK service personnel committing potential war crimes. And then 2 nights ago, the Covert Human Intelligence Services Bill, which deals with the whole issue of spy cops and the legal framework under which they operate. And, given that we're calling out the Tories for breaking the rule of law over trying to undo the Brexit, the EU withdrawal that they negotiated just under a year ago, it seems a shame that we are a little bit negligent about the rule of law in relation to both war crimes and spy cops. And it was wrong, I think, to abstaining on those things actually pleases nobody. It makes you look sitting on the fence. And worse, 3 members of the shadow front bench who had the principles to vote against the war crime stuff actually lost their jobs. If Keir wants to talk about patriotism, and I understand why he might want to, surely the best way to frame that is to say, look, who really cares about the people in this country? Is it the Tories that have outsourced the whole testing service to their privatised friends? Or is it us who actually want to bring things back in-house so they work for the interest of the British people? And that would be a much better way of talking about patriotism than playing along with national security issues, which didn't please the Tories anyway. They've still got monstered in the press, Labour, for abstaining. So we didn't really win anything on that abstention, and it looked rather foolish, I think. So it's a mixed picture for me.
All right, well, thank you, Andy. I'm going to move to Spain now, where Labour International member Nina Davis.
Mm-hmm. Yes, formerly from Barry in South Wales. So I empathised hugely with the things that Mary said. For me, one of my main memories of this kind of political period was being a delegate to the Labour Party conference in Brighton in 2017. I was a delegate from Labour International. I'd rejoined the Labour Party after a very long time away when Jeremy was elected. And I went to that conference in Brighton and it was just an amazing experience. And I listened to Naomi Klein. I don't know if you know her, she's a Canadian writer. She wrote The Shock Doctrine. And she stood on the main stage and she said, left parties all over the world were watching the Labour Party in Britain, because it looked like for the first time it would be possible to change an established left party into a socialist party that really wanted to change things. And all over, in France, the Socialist Party is nothing. In Spain, in Greece, the Socialist Party is nothing. It looked like Labour had that chance. And you remember, it was the largest membership party in Europe in 2017. And when Jeremy Corbyn came to Cardiff for the election in 2017, 20,000 people were on Whitchurch Common. That was the largest political meeting that had been in Cardiff in anybody's memory. And all of that has just been, the story's been changed, and it's been changed by the media. And I was a journalist, so it's my kind of interest to look at the analysis of media coverage. And it's just unbelievably biased, unbelievably biased. Before The Guardian was having 1 or 2 anti-Corbyn articles every day. Now they have 1 or 2 Love Starmer articles every day. And I think that says everything about Keir Starmer. I've got a very different take on Keir Starmer to some of you who've spoken. Yes, he was with Doughty Street Chambers. It was great. But as DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, his record is not the same at all. It was a very, if you look it up, some of the...
Because I don't think we should talk about his record before, just for the tightness.
No, okay, but I'm just saying...
I might move on. I might move on because the 2 minutes is... thank you for dialing in from Spain. And here, I'm going to move on to Amanda in Mansfield. Are you there, Amanda?
I am. I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Right. It must be cold out there. So what's your view, Amanda?
Well, I didn't really know what to say to come on here, what I was going to say, but I feel I've got to say something about women in the Labour Party and the fact that the misogyny and the bullying is quite rife within the Labour Party in Mansfield, shall we say. And I'm hoping, and I am hopeful, that with Keir saying he's going to do the unconscious bias training and the staff of the Labour Party are going to do that he will roll that out and ensure that Labour Party members in general will do the training that are in positions such as myself. I am a district councillor and I am a portfolio holder for the first Labour mayor in Mansfield that we've ever had. And I've just withdrawn from the county selection process through having... I'm a lefty, I'm a socialist, but I've pulled out of that because of the misogyny and the bullying from quarters of the party that I once worked with and supported in their own elections at different times. And since I'm not the person that they want in county, they've decided to do as much as they can to try and out me. And I just thought, you know what, I'm not bothered. You can have it, you can do what you want with it. I would much rather be doing what I'm doing, because I'm a bloody good councillor. I do work hard in my ward. I literally get my hands dirty doing stuff on the allotment, doing stuff with feeding children and families and stuff like that. And it's shocking really that women are... I'll give you an instance. We got elected in May. We went to our first Labour group meeting. We had new councillors. So the Chief Whip decided to explain the role of what would happen at full council. And he explained that he would expect the men to be suited and booted and women to dress accordingly. Fine, not a problem with that. But then somebody within that group that was already a sitting councillor said, yeah, we'd like to see you in skirts and dresses because I like to see your legs.
Right.
So for me, in Mansfield, I want Keir Starmer to come to Mansfield. I'm putting out a thing here for him. I want him to come out to Mansfield and sit and come and talk to the women's group that I'm involved in, because I'm the women's officer, and to listen to our concerns about such behaviour in the 21st century. And to ensure and to tell me that and for him to promise me that he will ensure that that sort of unconscious bias training will be given and will be especially to elected members, especially to the hierarchy within any CLP, that should happen. And until he does that sort of thing, I mean, the leak report, he didn't do anything with the leak report other than, you know, chastise somebody for leaking it. Well, it needed leaking. We all knew it was happening. We all knew it was happening in Mansfield. Our own PPC at the time, Sonia Ward, suffered horrendously under the right wing of the Labour Party that didn't want her in. She won the selection process fairly and squarely. You know, she was a fantastic candidate, and I'll say it here and now, she was the best Labour MP that Mansfield never had.
Right.
And it's
I'm aware of the time. I'm just thinking that so he hasn't done enough to work on the bullying and misogyny within the party. So that's what you're worried about, him not doing that. And
the reason why I'm worried about that is because I'm not decrying any anti-Semitism or anything like that. I'm not decrying any of them issues, but that is all he seems to be talking about, and all the people seem to be talking about. Whereas, you know, they're not talking about the real issues that affect everybody within the party, or can do at some point.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. I'm just mindful of the time. We've got Kathy Bradley in Canterbury. Are you there, Kathy?
Yes, I'm here.
What would you like to add to what's been said?
Well, was the question, has he done a good job? Because I think he perhaps does appeal to the country, and he actually hasn't pronounced on anything particularly. We have no policies. That's the shame of it. That people like, I think it was Barry said, he knows Tories, he would Keir Starmer, but actually it's because he looks nice. We have two white men leading the opposition, the two main parties in this country. They are men of straw, and they appeal to the media, they appeal to the white people, and he's banging the nationalist drum. His view on Black Lives Matter was pitiful. He has promoted people who are out to get the left in the party, who are anti-socialist, who would prefer Tories in government than a socialist government. Those people have now been promoted under Starmer. And the sadness I feel is that this makes him more appealing to the country, because the country at large has been told that socialism is bad. The other thing that worries me is that we are being taken back to a time when Labour was a wishy-washy, don't offer anything, let's see what the country wants, not let's have some positive policies that change the structure at time of COVID and Brexit. At times of crisis, we need real leadership. We're not getting it. We have a man who's saying, oh, this is what the country wants, this is what the red wall wants. These are not positive initiatives. We have seen how Jeremy Corbyn in 2017 was incredibly popular amongst the many young people who were crying out for structural change, socialism, nationalisation. We've seen Annalise Dodds saying nationalisation won't be on the agenda. Austerity is not a bad thing. We need to be fiscally careful. This is Miliband light again, only worse. And this country needs better than that. I have voted Labour all my life because it's better than the Tories. I'm at a point now where I'm not sure about that anymore. Are we just going to have neoliberal? I think this has been a complete conspiracy to keep socialism out of power in this country, between the powers that be, the media, the establishment have worked so hard. The Guardian, the BBC have been absolutely shameless in their support of the opposition, any opposition to socialism. That's what I'll say.
Thank you, very, very powerful. Thank you, Kathy. And I'm moving to Southampton now, to Duncan. Are you there, Duncan?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. So you've heard a lot there. What would you like to add to what people?
Well, I'll tell you what. One for the nerds here. Let's take you on a bit of a journey. Imagine you're stood in the bridge on Khazad-dûm in Lord of the Rings, and you're Gandalf, and you're stood on that bridge, and the Balrog's coming towards you with the flames coming out of his nostrils, the horns on his head, the evil Balrog, and you're facing him, and you say, "You cannot." Oh, hang on, phone call. Well, we're abstaining. Abstention. Don't block the bridge. Oh, we're going to put some amendments down at report stage. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, that's where we are, and I find the whole thing to be a disgrace. The bills that we abstained on are things which, whether we can beat them in Parliament or not, they are things that should be, because they are against our values, they should be opposed, and you should demonstrate your opposition to it, whether it can be successful in Parliament or not. And we did not do that, we abstained. I mean, I credit and would say congratulations to those, the 18 and the 20 members who did vote against those particular bills, but I'm sorry, bills that, you know, would allow spying on trade unions and make it lawful. You could not prosecute somebody for committing crimes in spying on trade unions. I mean, I wrote a little scenario. I would say, essentially, if it was certified as such, you could have people breaking into the South Side to spy on and steal things from the Labour Party, and it's potentially lawful under this legislation if the Home Secretary had certified that it was in the national interest, or that it was, you know, to protect national security or in the interest of the economy. It's an absurdity that we're not opposing those things, and that's where I've kind of reached my, I think, well, not breaking point. I didn't vote for Starmer in the first instance. I considered, I did think about it, but I chatted to some people who'd known him a long time and decided, no, I'm not going to support him. And it really is just a long, dribbling rejection of everything that, as far as I can see, the party stood for under Jeremy and has stood for a long time, to the point where, you know, it's becoming hollowed out. And I'm sorry, but, you know, another red Tory government is not better than a blue Tory government, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, well, thank you, Duncan. Very honest. I loved your prop as well, the phone. It's great. Han in Nottingham.
Hello.
Hi, Han. We haven't spoken to anyone with a onesie yet. I thought I'd get a onesie on. So tell us.
Getting ready for Halloween, yeah. I am one of those young people that everyone likes sort of quoting, oh, who's popular with the young people. Well, yes, but that's partly because it was less about the person and more about the policy. And I'm from the generation where we're not interested in party politics anymore. We're not interested in parties in general. Most of the people my age just go, oh, another party thing. Oh, you're just going to lie to me. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter what colour you are. You're going to lie to us. And that's the feeling a lot of people get now. And for me personally, I didn't vote Jeremy Corbyn. I didn't vote Starmer. I joined after the loss, after the November loss. And I joined because I was getting sick of the lack of class analysis online. This constant identity politics and culture war. And I was like, we need to have a real organisation that examines the Hong Kong civil war, the Uyghur issues. Starmer is supposed to be a human rights lawyer. I thought that was his big selling point. He's said nothing about those things. He says nothing about Assange. He has said nothing, and he didn't even acknowledge the teaching unions when they told us kids shouldn't be going back to school. He has repeatedly proven that he is not to be trusted. And most people my age go, just another politician then. And that's why we leave the Labour Party. That's why. It's very much a case of same old. What else do you expect? He's reactionary. He's inconsistent. He ignores working class movements. The way he treated BLM was terrible. Most people were like, that is a working class movement that is being used to raise awareness. He dismissed it as a movement and then backtracked on all of it. And yet he took a knee, which is hypocritical at the very best. That is virtue signalling at the very best. I'm sorry, but if he wants to know what the young people are thinking, we're not impressed. All we see is another politician. Doesn't matter if you're wearing red or blue, you're just another politician. And whether you like it or not, the revolution is coming. And whether we are organised behind the Labour Party or not, people my age are finding ways around this. We're going to the Green Party, or we're organising online, or we're thinking, why don't we go make a gay space commune out in the woods? It's seriously getting to that point. And most of the issues nowadays are environmental. Starmer has said nothing about this. He is in my respect, he's milquetoast. He's useless. He's every other politician I've ever seen. And I joined purely because I wanted to do something proper in my community, because a lot of leftist politics is impotent. And I'm frustrated. And I don't know what else to do.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
That's all I've got to say, really.
Thank you for your honesty, and it's great for you to come on and speak. Thank you. I'm now going to move to Brian, who's in West Ham and has just come on rather late. Are you there, Brian?
Hi, Crispin. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. I can just about see you. Do you want to move your camera down a bit so I can see your mouth? Yeah, that's
okay,
better.
good. Good. Thank you.
You haven't got very long, Brian. The rules are you've got under 2 minutes now. What's your view on Keir Starmer's 6 months?
Because I can only sympathise and empathise with your previous contributor of excellent words. The past 40 years have been a disaster for the human race. The social democratic consensus was a lot better than the neoliberal disaster we've had from the past 40 years, as more and more people all over the world are realising that consensus is collapsing in the popular mind. Now, people like Thatcher and Blair may have got away with it for a bit, but people like Starmer, a knighthood wielding for Sir Keir Starmer, careerist like Keir Starmer, is out of time. And as your previous speaker has said, it'll be very, very soon out of luck. The consensus is moving on. The people are moving on. And the sooner the bloody better, because of what the world is facing now is absolutely critical. It's absolutely historic. We have, the movement of the moment is Extinction Rebellion, because we are facing extinction. Unless we don't start seriously, stop turning the planet into a shit heap in the next 10 years. And that requires more than a klutz like Boris Johnson or a super klutz like Keir Starmer. There's a Keir Starmer, and we've got to stop climate change. And of course, the new movement, Black Lives Matter, institutional racism, and all of that. But the overarching issue of our time is climate change, and climate change can only be stopped. Disaster for the human race. The planet can only be saved by socialism, and socialism is a time whose is a thing whose moment has come. And if there are people who can't even see that even now, they best get out of the bloody way if they want to get old. Thanks a lot, Crispin. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Right, so now look, I know that people want to come back in, but I can't really do it. Otherwise, it becomes a mess. My whole disciplined approach to this this discussion goes out of the window. I do want to go back to Mark MacDonald, though, because I think we do need to sum this up. I'd like to make a couple of points, Mark. The first is that what Han said was very strong to me, that politics needs to move on from the old school of Tony Blair type presentation. We can't convince younger people to get involved if they just look at us as politicians. We need real commitment, passion, and that is also what Brian was saying a bit at the end there. Is that lacking in Keir Starmer?
I think the main thing that and you've asked me to summarise what everybody's been saying, really. The main thing that I've picked up really is that he's leaving the members behind. He needs to prove that he is the socialist that he professed to be when he took over and became the leader. And although people want him, and I think a majority of people who spoke want him to succeed because they want a Labour government, the fact that he hasn't, he's been abstaining on crucial votes, the fact that he hasn't been out and spoken to members, the fact that he hasn't been angry, and that he hasn't shouted out loud, what is the hell is going on with this Conservative government, I think he's leaving our members scratching their head and thinking, well, what is this all about? And the very people that go out there and knock the door, I think someone said, the chap from Eton called us campaigners, the very people that go out and knock on the door and in the pouring rain will do so at the next general election. He needs to come out and he needs to say to us that he stands shoulder to shoulder with us. Yes, we've got to appeal to the people. Yes, we've got to go out there and win a general election. Yes, this is something, of course, that Jeremy Corbyn, and you know, I was a great supporter of him, I was a parliamentary candidate under him, failed to connect with a majority of people, which is why we lost so many seats. He needs to reverse that process, but he cannot do that with leaving us behind. And the anger that you see on social media and the anger that you see from people like Maria and Han and Michael and Brian on here are, I think, reflective of the real disillusionment that we see from Keir, that he's not really, he's disconnecting from the very people that he needs to be standing next to and bringing with him. And I'm really hoping that when we come out of this pandemic and we start developing our policies, that we see the real socialist that Jeremy Corbyn, that Keir Starmer said that he is. And he shouts and he is angry, and he's angry at this Conservative government, and he brings us with him, that we can all willingly get up and go out and fight for him. And I think that's reflective of what I've heard, really,
right,
from a lot of members here.
All right, well, thank you for that. Was not too long a summing up. Thank you, everyone, for coming on to speak. And I know people wanted to speak more, but I wanted to be disciplined about this for a change. And we've now got a bit of a light-hearted end to the show. We've got some stand-up for Labour comedians to bring us all together and lower the tension. How about that? Anyone? Suzy, are you
Hi.
there? Hi, Suzy.
Hello.
Suzy in Plymouth. Now, how have you been?
Well, obviously, Cineworld is closed. I've got no work at the moment. So I've got nothing to do with myself, you know, and I'm trying to find ways to make money. And you know, I like to go to Asda's, don't you? For those of you not from the West Country, that's Asda, but we say Asda's. And today, because I've realised I've got to tighten my belt a bit because times are hard, so I've been hanging around the reduced section. The thing I like about Asda is they put the reduced things all together, because a lot of the time in other supermarkets, they just put a yellow sticker on it, and I'm wandering around the store trying to scan for yellow stickers like the Terminator. But I love Asda because they put it all together. And I've decided, because I've got no work, I need to find something else to do. And obviously, me and my lovely boyfriend, Big Willie, we've been thinking about what we can do to make some money. And we've decided to become internet influencers. So we've decided, I don't know if you know what an influencer is, but it's someone who tries to sell you certain products or makes you shop in certain places. And we're having a lovely evening in, actually, me and Willie. I'm sat here in my little onesie. I've got this from Georgia Asda. It's very fleecy, very comfortable, very easily off and onable if you're sat having a drink of wine. Tonight, for instance, I'm enjoying the Banished, which is a lovely red wine, currently at £8 on Roeback in Asda's. And also, we're enjoying the ambience of a lovely candle that makes a nice flickering sound. It's called Eco Wicks, and currently on special offer in Asda for £5. If you don't like a candle and you're a bit more concerned about safety, what you can do is, if you buy several bottles of the Banished, which is currently £8, you can buy these lovely LED lights, which you can pop inside. 16 for £12.99 in Asda at the moment. So yeah, we're enjoying a lovely casual evening in. Do you want to say hello to Willie?
Yeah, that's Willie.
Say hello, I'll just turn the camera around. Willie is currently in his pajamas. They're also from Georgia Asda. Are they very comfortable, Willie?
They're very nice.
Very comfortable. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I just want to say I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week. And lovely pajamas, Willie. That's Asda price.
Well, Suzy, that's fantastic. And Willie as well. Thanks, Willie.
We've become a proper double act now, me and Willie. That's it.
And
we want to be the new Richard and Judy.
This is great. Thank you, Willie.
No problem.
Get your wine out, Willie.
I enjoyed it.
We're going to bring on Rob. Are you
Hello,
there?
I am. Yes.
Right. Now, you have. What do you think, by the way, of the discussion? Did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a remarkably nuanced and balanced and thoughtful series of arguments. Yeah, it's good.
I mean, I think that there was some animosity going on at the start, but I think we've all calmed down a bit, and we might be able to enjoy our evenings now.
Well, it is. We are where we are, and we were stuck with it, I'm afraid. But yeah, that was interesting. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a long debate, I think.
Now, you've written a new song, which is a comic song called "Don't Just Sit There."
Exactly. It has no connection.
What's
Sorry.
the instrument again? The band.
It's the banjolele. There we go.
Banjolele.
Yeah, one of these. It's Fort Hitler. This did.
It's Fort Hitler. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
made in 1935, I think.
well, we need that kind of spirit, I suppose. for, coronavirus. So.
Yeah. When I was a little boy, I was my mummy's pride and joy. She'd read me storybooks about brave knights. The quest to find the Holy Grail. One by one the good knights failed. Apart from Percy, none too brave or bright. At school they gave us lots of tests, and lots of children got quite stressed. Found the simplest way to get along. Especially if you're not that bright, don't try to get the answers right. All you have to do is sing this song. Don't just sit there, do nothing. Whether it's tea or whether it's trouble brewing, don't just sit there, do nothing. And nothing's what I'm really good at doing. At Oxford University, good wife, good job, ahead of me. One last punt with Bunty, she falls in. Well, never let your bad luck vex you. Drift along till you get rescued. Poor old Bunty, shame she couldn't swim. But on I go, unperturbed, to get the good job I deserve. Just don't rock the boat and you'll be fine, Bunty. Don't waste your energy in rowing. Sniff which way the wind is blowing. Safe seats wait for those who toe the line. And don't just sit there, do nothing. Whether it's tea or whether it's trouble brewing, don't just sit there, do nothing. And nothing's what I'm really good at doing. Pontius Pilate, not a man, blamed the locals, washed his hands. There'll always be some messenger you can shoot. Rome burns down, the Emperor Nero plays the fiddle. What a hero! Nowadays, just look good in a suit. And when I get to number 10, I'll do then what I did then. Please, sir, it was Corbyn, sir, not me. And you don't have to make decisions, just appear on television, do bugger all, then bugger off for tea. Don't just sit there, do nothing. Whether it's tea or whether it's trouble brewing, don't just sit there, do nothing. 'Cause nothing's what I'm really good at doing. All together, don't just sit there, do nothing. Whether it's tea or whether it's trouble brewing,